Chris Jericho discusses the AEW All Out Brawl and the possible departure of CM Punk from All Elite Wrestling. Tony Khan teases a newsworthy edition of Dynamite this evening on TBS. Plus, MJF is in the Iron Claw, but which Von Erich will he be portraying? We've got an update on the Fight Forever video game. Dustin Rhodes reveals how many years he has left on his AEW contract. Dynamite does record numbers in the UK, and a former Impact and WWE star makes their AEW debut. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Of course, it's Wednesday. You know what that means. Tonight, it's AEW Dynamite live on TBS as we get closer and closer to Full Gear in just a few days' time. So let's get straight into the biggest story this evening, and that is still some more fallout from Brawl Out at the beginning of, what was it? End of August, beginning of September, whenever it was. Feels like a lifetime ago at this point because so much has happened since then. But Chris Jericho, the Ring of Honor World Champion, the Ocho, has had his say on the Brawl, the reinstating of certain elite members, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, the seemingly impending departure of CM Punk, former two-time AEW World Champion, the very same CM Punk, of course, that reportedly Jericho said to his face he was a cancer and a detriment to the locker room and a detriment to the company right after the Brawl in Chicago. So, Chris Jericho, he's been witness to several locker room altercations, some involving himself, it must be said, in his time as a professional wrestler in his legendary career. But after AEW's All Out pay-per-view went off the air, the ensuing media scrum would unfortunately launch Tony Khan's wrestling promotion into further disarray when a physical altercation between the Elite, CM Punk, Ace Steel, Larry the Dog, Ace Steel's wife as well, would take place in the locker room at the Now Arena in Chicago. In the months and weeks following, Chris Jericho reportedly has emerged as a point of contact, a locker room leader, and a captain figure, as Tony Schiavone described him backstage in All Elite Wrestling. Now, Jericho, the Ring of Honor World Champion, was a recent guest on the Howie Mandel Does Stuff podcast, where he would delicately disclose what information he could about the AEW All Out infamous Brawl when speaking to the former Deal or No Deal host. He said, quote, "There was a locker room fight, what happened a couple of months ago, between a couple of guys. When these things happen, you have to deal with them. Sometimes the way to deal with it is just guys have to not be there anymore." Jericho corrected the course when it was incorrectly insinuated that the shows had been cancelled. He said, quote, "Not cancelled the shows, but guys were suspended and that sort of thing." It was reported recently by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, of course that's their Patreon service, be sure to check that out and subscribe, that Jericho approached CM Punk and called him a locker room cancer. The subject of backstage troubles and locker room brawls was broached when Jericho was asked how he feels that those things should be dealt with. He said, quote, "It happens, sure does. If you're cast in a movie and you hate your co-star, either you make it work, do your job, put on a great performance and never talk to each other again, or you leave the project. It's that simple. If there are people you have a problem with, which I've had over the years, not a lot, but this guy can rub you the wrong way, he's an effing a-hole, whatever you still have to do to put on a good show, sometimes you have to fight in the locker room and that sort of thing. It's a big team. Sometimes guys gets into fights, sometimes guys just have the wrong attitude for how to make the team work. That's how you have to look at it. Sometimes guys just have to leave." In the time since the Brawl Out incident, Tony Khan has heaped kudos onto the likes of Jericho, Bryan Danielson, and current AEW World Champion Jon Moxley for standing strong as locker room leaders within All Elite Wrestling. Guys just have to leave. That's the quote there, certainly, isn't it? Guys just have to not be there anymore. Chris Jericho, seemingly, I think, has kind of put out there what is now the overarching sentiment towards CM Punk within the company, that despite the tickets that he sells, despite the ratings that he does bring in, despite the merchandise that he sells, they're still selling CM Punk merchandise. There was a CM Punk bauble that was released for the holiday season the other day, which lots of people talked about. CM Punk at the moment, unless the cover art gets changed, which it could, but at the moment CM Punk is still front and center. He's the main face, or certainly the first face you really see on the AEW Fight Forever video game. We've got an update about that coming soon. But despite all of that, despite the draw, despite the money, despite the ratings, despite everything, Chris Jericho is basically saying, if you're a detriment to the team, if you can't get along with your co-stars, if you can't put your beef to one side and make money and work together, then you're just not worth being around. And sometimes guys just have to leave. That's the quote, certainly, isn't it? And it would appear, as I mentioned, that certainly is the growing sentiment. We have heard that been reported recently by the likes of Fightful, by the likes of PW Insider, by the likes of Dave Meltzer, that certainly the sentiment, the overarching sentiment is anti-Punk, and most people, if not the majority within the company, don't want him to be there. Not all, because I'm sure CM Punk still has his supporters, and I'm sure Tony Khan realistically looked around and asked his locker room, did a bit of a litmus test and said, look, if he were to come back, what would that look like, and what would you need to see, and what would you want to see from this guy if he were to come back? Because Tony Khan's put a lot of money into CM Punk. Tony Khan's put a lot of money on the table for his contract, and it's going to cost him a lot of money to negotiate that exit deal from his contract, to negotiate that buyout, and it would certainly be far more profitable and a far better investment if CM Punk could come back and make money for the company and Tony Khan once again. Unfortunately, it would appear that ship has sailed, and Jericho was reportedly one of the names that said he would be unwilling to work with CM Punk if he did return. And Jericho, as I mentioned, certainly would appear to be a representative of the feeling towards the former AEW World Champion in the locker room right now. And that is that sometimes guys just gotta go. And CM Punk apparently has just got to go. Does that mean he's got to go to WWE? Does that mean he's got to go into retirement? One thing's for sure, it means he's got to go from All Elite Wrestling. Now, it's Wednesday. You know what that means. Tonight, Dynamite is live on TBS, and Tony Khan has done his usual hype up, promote the show, but he's also teased that Wednesday, today's edition of Dynamite, will be, quote, newsworthy. Ahead of the show this evening, Khan took to Twitter to note, quote, I promise an exciting newsworthy show on Wednesday night, hashtag AEW Dynamite on TBS tonight. Tony Khan also revealed some interesting news about the UK ratings and UK viewership for Dynamite. We'll talk about that later on. But on the show, the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament will commence this evening, with Eddie Kingston set to face off against Ethan Page in the first round bout. Bryan Danielson will also be in action on the show this evening. The Popular Star will face off against Sammy Guevara in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Saraya and Britt Baker will also meet face-to-face. Following teases that Saraya will soon wrestle for AEW, she teased last week she would reveal her in-ring future this evening, so hopefully we'll get answers from the former WWE Divas champion. We will also hear from MJF for the first time since the Firm attacked him on the October 26th episode of Dynamite 2. So plenty in store for this evening. I would think, and this isn't scoops, this isn't insider information, this isn't I know something so I'm going to say it, it's not anything of the sort or anything like that. I would just suspect, and it's only a suspicion, but if he's saying it's a newsworthy show and we're what? Less than 2 weeks at this point away from AEW Full Gear, I think the chances are tonight could be the night. Tonight could be the evening that we do indeed see the Elite return to AEW, or at the very least we get hard and final confirmation of when they'll be returning. Of course, in recent weeks we've had the vignettes, we've had the Delete the Elite thing, which has got nothing to do with the Hardys or Matt Hardy or Broken Matt Hardy or anything like that. But the point being that, you know, in recent weeks we've had those vignettes, we've had those teases that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are on their way back. It's been reported that seemingly the plan is to have the Elite versus Death Triangle for the AEW World Trios Championships at Full Gear. I would suspect either the Elite return this evening, or in the latest vignette, it's revealed that they will be returning at Full Gear or something of that nature. Or Tony Khan reveals that Death Triangle will be defending their World Trios Championships against the Elite at Full Gear. I think that's the direction it's going in. Again, don't know if that's the big newsworthy thing. There were some newsworthy things last week. One of them was Jeff Jarrett, and no one saw that coming. So certainly anything's possible at this stage. MJF, of course, is heading to Hollywood, and we kind of speculated on this yesterday about what his role will be in this upcoming Iron Claw film, and it's been revealed that AEW star MJF will be making his debut in the Iron Claw as Kevin Vaughn. And you'll say, well, who is that? Well, he was a wrestler in the 1980s who was briefly passed off as a cousin, yes, a cousin, of the Von Erich wrestling clan. When Mike Von Erich was hospitalized in 1985 with toxic shock syndrome, world-class championship wrestling booker and referee David Manning recruited Vaughn as a replacement and named him, now infamously, Lance Von Erich. Yes, he was the fake Von Erich. According to a 1988 story in D magazine, Vaughn's charade did not fool many loyal Von Erich fans, and his wrestling skills were subpar to those of the Von Erichs. Vaughn quit after Patriarch and WCCW owner Fritz Von Erich refused his request for more money. He would later wrestle under the name Fabulous Lance and Handsome Lance. He recalled his career in the autobiography Lance by Chance Wrestling as a Von Erich. Deadline, of course, previously reported that MJF was cast in the Iron Claw, and PWInsider.com confirmed MJF's casting as Vaughn and determined that his absence from AEW's Full Gear pay-per-view was due to his role in the film, which is now in production. Of course, that's not going to be the case because he's going to be wrestling at Full Gear, so I don't know what they're talking about when it comes to that. I think it might be... I'm not sure what they're talking about, to be honest with that. I don't think they're absent from Full Gear at all. He's going to wrestle at Full Gear, so that's bizarre, certainly. But whatever. I think it might be that he might be absent from something after Full Gear, or I don't know. Maybe he's just, he's got one date a week, so that's just bad reporting from PW Insider if that is the case. Nevertheless, it'll be his first film role. He's the second wrestler cast in the film. Chavo Guerrero has a role. He's doing double duty as a wrestling coordinator. He's done this for a lot of projects, Glow, Young Rock, etc. The Von Erichs are being played by Zac Efron as Kevin, Jeremy Allen White as Kerry, Harris Dickinson as David, Holt McClaney as Fritz, Stanley Simmons as Mike. The film is being produced by A24 with Sean Durkin directing from a screenplay. And as I just said, MJF is not missing Full Gear, so I don't know what they're talking about when it comes to that. But Lance Von Erich does make sense. I questioned yesterday whether he could be Mike or something like that. I wasn't sure because MJF's a bit of a smaller guy, but he was, Chris. Chris was way smaller than that. He was very small. And MJF's actually bulked up recently. Lance Von Erich, that makes a lot of sense because Lance Von Erich, again, in the Texas territory in WCCW, it was almost blasphemous for Fritz and WCCW to even try and pretend that there was another Von Erich that nobody knew about, a cousin that nobody knew about, because the Von Erichs were legitimate celebrities. Everybody knew them. Everyone knew the family, even as they were growing up because of Fritz. So everyone knew that there wasn't this Lance Von Erich. That was BS. So it'll be interesting to see how MJF pulls that off. But certainly it's interesting to see that he's going to be playing that fake cousin. Fight Forever. We spoke about this yesterday because there were rumors about launch dates and discussions about Xbox Game Pass for Fight Forever. There appeared to be some developments regarding the upcoming AEW video game. Yesterday, as I mentioned, when this report emerged that Fight Forever would be available on Xbox Game Pass on the first day of the game's release. But Lee Corso has said many times during his analysis on ESPN's College Game Day, "Not so fast, my friend," in a series of tweets earlier this afternoon. AEW Games clarified what looks to have been some erroneous reporting in pro wrestling, can you imagine, while also revealing that some important information regarding Fight Forever was still on the way. Quote, "The internet is buzzing about AEW Fight Forever, but AEW Games is the official source for all news and information related to AEW Fight Forever," the tweet read. "Hang tight for a new exclusive AEW Fight Forever update next Saturday during November 19's Full Gear. AEW Games continue with information regarding Games Pass, or lack thereof right now. This also seems to be a good time to share that we don't anticipate AEW Fight Forever being part of any monthly gaming subscription services. AEW Fight Forever will be available in store at your favorite retailers or online." The official word from AEW Games comes nearly 2 years after the promotion first revealed the development of Fight Forever, which has been seen heavy involvement from AEW star and Executive Vice President Kenny Omega. 2022 has seen a steady stream of news regarding the game, with the gameplay being featured at both Games.com in Germany and the Tokyo Game Show back in August and September. However, an official release date has still yet to be announced. So I would suspect we might just get that official release date next weekend at Full Gear, but as we get closer to the holiday season, I would have suspected we'd have got a release date already by now if it was going to come out for the holiday season. So chances are it's probably going to say 2023, I would suspect. Dustin Rhodes, the last remaining Rhodes in AEW, has obviously done quite a lot in All Elite Wrestling, one of the most famous matches in AEW history, against his brother at the first Double or Nothing pay-per-view. And he's provided a notable update on his contract status, revealing how long he has left on his current deal. Dustin Rhodes is currently out of action recovering from an injury, and speaking with Sports Guys Talk Wrestling, Dustin Rhodes revealed that he's preparing to return to the ring, noting that he'll likely be in action in 2 weeks' time. Dustin then confirmed that he's under a year left on his AEW contract, contract. While sharing a health update, Dustin said, a lot of cleanings. I've never had an ACL surgery. This is 14 surgeries altogether. I was just feeling old because my knee is taking a little longer to recuperate. Now I've got it. It's good to go. I'm getting older. They're getting younger and faster. I know my time is short. I still have a year under contract, a little less than a year, and I'm going to try to do the best I can and entertain as much as I can because I still love it and am pretty passionate about it. But it's a young man's game, as everyone finds out. Dustin's brother, of course, Cody Rhodes, notably left AEW shortly after his deal expired in early 2022. Cody made his WWE return at WrestleMania 38 in April. Dustin last wrestled on the August 26 edition of AEW Rampage, unsuccessfully challenging for Claudio Castagnoli's Ring of Honor World Championship at the time. Of course, Castagnoli then dropped the championship to Chris Jericho, the Ocho, at Dynamite Grand Slam in September. As far as what Dustin Rhodes is going to do going forward after his contract expires, I don't know. A lot of people would assume, well, he's going to go back to WWE, maybe for one final run as Goldust. I'm not sure what there's left for him to do as Goldust realistically anymore, but what is there really left for him to do in AEW at this point? He kind of feels a bit lost. So we'll have to wait and see what Dustin does. But he can still go, no doubt about that. Some interesting news about the viewership when it comes to Dynamite in the UK, of course, place where I live. AEW President Tony Khan has revealed that a recent episode of Dynamite drew a record viewership in the United Kingdom. Khan took to Twitter to reveal that per ITV head of scheduling strategy John Williams, the October 28 episode on ITV4 drew an average of 201,000 total viewers. Also noting that UK viewership has generally increased. Khan tweeted, before Dynamite tonight, some UK ITV4 viewership data per John Williams. September 2022 plus 14% versus September of 21. October 2022 plus 12% versus October of 21. October 28 episode most watched ever, 201k average. The October 28 ITV4 episode originally aired on October 26 on TBS in the United States. The episode drew an average of 911,000 viewers in the US time slot with a 0.29 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. This episode saw Jon Moxley defend his AEW World Championship against Penta El Zero Miedo. Following the bout, the firm attacked Jon Moxley before turning on MJF. I mean, this is the weird thing with Dynamite in the UK, in my opinion, certainly. They do have a good TV deal-ish. Being on ITV4 is no mean feat. And to be honest, the amount of conversations that I've had with people that aren't pro wrestling fans, it'll be a case of, like, you know, my family or friends that I know aren't wrestling fans, and they'll say, oh, I was flicking on the channels the other day and I saw this thing, AEW, because over here, ITV4 is free to air, it's free view. And people go, yeah, I was watching it and I enjoyed it, or I didn't like it, or whatever. People do see it. The problem is, if it was on ITV4 and it was live every Wednesday, I know it's a later time, but it would do very well. This is the reason why Impact was so big. Is still to an extent, but certainly was really big over here in the UK. They were on Freeview television, and like AEW, it aired sort of 48 hours after it aired on TV. Obviously, Impact was on a Thursday, and you would air on, you know, like a Saturday or a Sunday on Challenge, which was a game show network, but it was free to air. Because of that, people used to watch it because a lot of people have subscription TV. They just had the free view. And it was popular because of it. So yeah, the UK market still could be dealt with a lot better. WWE and BT Sport do a really good job, but not a lot of people have BT Sport, and they do a lot of repeats. But again, not a lot of people have BT Sport subscription service. So again, being on ITV isn't a bad thing, but I think from my experience anyway, a lot of people I have seen watch AEW via Fight, and that's how they watch it live, but that is what it is. Finally, speaking of Impact Wrestling, I suppose, a former Impact Wrestling and WWE star made their AEW debut last night on AEW Dark. Since the inception of the company, AEW has welcomed a litany of former WWE stars into the fold: Jericho, Moxley, Danielson, Punk, etc. While some talent felt AEW was the only option after leaving WWE, NXT's Zoya Fulton was a bit different. The former Sanity member spent 5 years with the promotion before being released in 2017, but in 2019, Fulton joined Impact Wrestling and spent nearly 3 years there with the company. AEW announced the lineup for last night's Dark and revealed that Fulton would be making his debut for the promotion on the show. He teamed with Troy Hollywood and Atavalu to face off the Dark Order in a trios match on the program, which of course they lost. Fulton's contract with Impact Wrestling expired in August. His last appearance with the company was on the March 31st, 2022 edition of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. Fulton was aligned with Sami Callihan's Ohio vs. Everything and Ace Austin during his time with Impact Wrestling. Will it lead to anything else? I don't know. I probably doubt it, but you never know. Dark is the sort of entryway for a lot of things in AEW, so we'll have to wait and see. But there you go, guys. That's the latest AEW news for you today. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak with you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.